Jack and Jill are thinking about what Steiner has just said, and they finally conclude that indeed, one cannot prove that the world is merely the projection of one's own consciousness by investigating the content of one's percepts, for these percepts would then have to be treated as themselves mental pictures, and hence could form no proof of anything at all. Yet this doesn't help us in finding the truth, says Jill. Our percepts could still be the effect of the matrix. We still don't know for certain that our percepts pertain to anything that could be called objective reality. The claim that the world is my mental picture could still be valid, despite the fact that our particular way of demonstrating this claim is completely wrecked. Steiner responds, "If I assert that the world is my mental picture, I have enunciated the result of an act of thinking, and if my thinking is not applicable to the world, then this result is false. Between a percept and every kind of assertion about it, thinking inserts itself." Here I am speaking of thinking insofar as we know it from the observation of our own spiritual and mental activity. How one material process in my brain causes or influences another while I'm carrying out a thinking operation is quite irrelevant. My observation shows me that in linking one thought with another, there is nothing to guide me but the content of my thoughts. I am not guided by any material processes in my brain. In a less materialistic age than our own, this remark would of course be entirely superfluous. Today, however, when there are people who believe that once we know what matter is, we shall know also how it thinks, we do have to insist that one can talk about thinking without immediately trespassing on the domain of brain physiology. "What has this got to do with the Matrix?" interrupts Jack. "I think he's getting to that," says Jill. For everyone, however, who has the ability to observe thinking, and with goodwill every normal person has this ability, this observation is the most important one he or she could possibly make. For we are observing something of which we ourselves are the creator. We find ourselves confronted, not by an apparently foreign object, but by our own activity. We know how the thing we are observing comes into being. We see into its connections and relationships. All other things, all other events, are there independently of me. Whether they be truth or illusion or dream, I know not. There is only one thing of which I am absolutely certain, for I myself give it its certain existence, and that is my thinking. A firm point has now been reached, from which we can, with some hope of success, seek an explanation of all other world phenomena. The reason why we generally overlook thinking in our consideration of things lies in the fact that our attention is concentrated only on the object we are thinking about, but not at the same time on the thinking itself. The naive consciousness therefore treats thinking as something which has nothing to do with the things, but stands altogether aloof from them and contemplates them. The picture which the thinker makes of the phenomena of the world is regarded not as something belonging to the things, but as existing only in the human head. It is assumed that the world is complete in itself without this picture. It is finished and complete with all its substances and forces, and of this ready-made world man makes a picture. Whoever thinks thus need only be asked one question. What right do you have to declare the world to be complete without thinking? Does not the world produce thinking in the heads of men and women with the same necessity as it produces the blossom on a plant? Plant a seed in the earth, it puts forth root and stem, it unfolds into leaves and blossoms. Set this plant before yourself, it connects itself in your mind with a definite concept. Why should this concept belong any less to the whole plant than leaf and blossom? Jack interrupts. Leaves and blossoms exist quite apart from a perceiving subject. But the concept appears only when a human being confronts the plant. Quite so, responds Steiner, but leaves and blossoms also appear on the plant only if there is soil in which the seed can be planted and light and air in which leaves and blossoms can unfold. Just so the concept of a plant arises when a thinking consciousness approaches the plant. It is not due to the objects that they are given to us at first without their corresponding concepts, but to our mental organization. Our whole being functions in such a way that from every real thing, the relevant elements come to us from two sides, from perceiving and from thinking. The percept is thus not something finished and self-contained, but only one side of the total reality. The other side is the concept. Only the percept and the concept together constitute the whole thing. "Whoa, I'm confused," says Jack. "According to an idealist like George Berkeley, when all three of us are looking at this rose, there are actually 3 roses, one in each of our consciousnesses. But in reality there is no actual rose independent of our consciousness." This is basically the philosophical problem that the film The Matrix bases its whole concept on. "Yes," says Jill, "and in contrast to this idealism, a scientific realist would say that there is a concrete material world independent of our consciousness, but each of us makes only a mental representation of this reality in our separate minds." "So which one of these views are you arguing for?" they both ask Steiner. So the question is, when all 3 of us are looking at this rose, how many distinct roses are there? Well, there is only one rose present. But as long as all 3 of us went no further than our perceptual images, we would have to say, these perceptual images are not a reality at all. As soon as we pass on to the rose as grasped by our thinking, the one reality of the rose reveals itself to us. Then, with our 3 contents of consciousness, we are united in this reality.